Hello and welcome back to McGrath, Sheffield Central. Today's masterclass for parents is all about how we help our children to organise their thoughts for creative writing by using their senses. So children have some really good ideas around creative writing, especially when it comes to descriptions, but the problem is they then struggle to get those ideas onto the page in a coherent manner using literary techniques that they're being taught, such as simile, metaphor, personification, adjectives, adverbs, and suddenly it becomes a big jumbled mess and you start to get waffling, or at the other end of the spectrum they don't get anything down on the page at all. So at McGrath, Sheffield Central, we have various different ways of helping children with this, and I'm going to share one of those with you today. If you'd like more information on how you can support your children in their maths and in their English, like, subscribe, hit the bell. Let's get into today's video. So let's take, for example, this picture of a park. Now, writing to a picture, a description from a picture or a story from a picture is an important skill because it comes up in their GCSEs, in their English language, paper 1 with AQA. It also comes up with other exam boards for English language. So it's always worth going out with them, gathering sense impressions, gathering ideas when you're out and about, just in conversation, and then they'll feed that back into their writing. Giving children those opportunities to experience different places, different sensations, really helps them to enrich their writing, and drawing their attention to the sights, sounds, feelings, smells, tastes that's all around them really help to feed into their writing so they can draw from that experience. So the best way that we found to help children organise their thought is by looking at their senses. So we'll start with the sense of sight. Human beings are quite sight dominant, so this is often the easiest place to start. So looking at the picture, imagining we are there. There are children playing, there are swings, there are families, there are trees, there are benches, and there's that lovely blue sky. So we jot those things down in a list just like this. Once we've got those, we'll then move on to hearing. What could you hear if you were in that park? Well, you'd hear the children playing, you'd hear the swings, you'd hear the families, you'd also hear birds singing with the number of trees around. Quite possibly. Again, you can just make some of this up if you're not sure, but drawing on their own experiences is really helpful. Then let's go to touch. Now, I have drawn a picture of a hand, but it isn't just about hands. It's about the sense of touch. So how do they feel things? They feel it on their face, things catching on their clothes, what's under their feet, the wind in the hair, for example, someone touching them holding on to something. So it's, even though there's a picture of a hand, it's not just about what you feel with your hands. It's also included within this touch and feel category is emotional feelings, which we're not going to put into this writing this time, but that is something that comes into the writing later on. Okay, so for the sake of this exercise, we can feel the sun, the heat from the sun, the bench, and the swings. Smell. What could we smell if we were there? Well, maybe cut grass, maybe ice cream, maybe perfume. And finally, taste. Probably the ice cream, I'm guessing. Possibly sandwiches. Your child may come up with lots of different ideas. Now, this is all 5 senses. But you don't always have to use all 5. You may decide that in that circumstance, in that setting, that really just a couple are taking in most of the information. So with that in mind, for this particular piece of writing, I'm going to take out the sense of smell, I'm going to take out the sense of taste, and just focus on seeing, hearing, and feeling. But again, different contexts may warrant different senses. Now, the next thing to do is to add in some description to the things that we see and hear and feel. Now, the first layer of this is adjectives and adverbs. Adjectives are describing words. Adverbs add to verbs, so they tell us how something is done. So for an example of adjectives, we might have young children playing, colourful swings, smiling families, green trees, wooden benches, blue sky. They're all our adjectives for what we can see. We might hear laughing children, playing happily. Now the laughing is the adjective and the happily is how they are playing, so that's your adverb. Now this is a really important teaching point. So the adjectives and the adverbs link to the sense. So you can see that the children are young, but you hear them laughing. And it's important to recognise that the description that you're giving is linked directly to the sense. So you're talking about sounds, and equally when it comes to touch, you're talking about the feel of things, so that the whole thing doesn't become a description of what they see. Okay, so we've got squeaky swings, they sound squeaky. Chattering families, chattering loudly, or families chattering loudly. Again, jiggle up the words, we'll just get them all in. And then birds singing sweetly. Warm sun, hard bench, cold metal swings. Now the metal is something you feel, it has a metallic feel to it. Now if we look at those three in a bit more detail, we'll notice that there's repetition within that plan. The children playing comes in both seeing and hearing. The swings turn up in all three. The families are in two. And the benches come in seeing and feeling. Now that's good. But that brings us to our next point. That if we were to write these with just a list of the things that they could see, a list of things they could hear, a list of things they could feel, there would be lots of repetition. And this is something that we want to try and avoid and make the writing a little bit more cohesive. So we have a little skill for that. Okay, so how do we organise these ideas if we're not going to do what we see, what we hear, what we feel? Well, we group them together with a shared theme. So you'll notice here that the red line links all the people. So the children playing, the families, the children laughing, the families chatting. They're all linked by one red line, so they would all go together. Then I've chosen to link the objects, so the swings, both what they look like and what they sound like. The wooden benches, what they look like and what they feel like. The metal swing is linked to touch as well. And then finally, we look at what we've got left and think, well, how can I group that? You've got green trees, blue sky, birds sing sweetly, and warm sun. They're all environmental factors. So I've put those all together as well. So your children look at the list and decide, how can I group these? And they may group them in a way that's different than the way you would group them. But as long as they can justify that, that's fine. Alright, so we take those ideas, we've grouped them together, and then we could end up with something like this. Children laugh and play, while smiling families chatter on hard wooden benches nearby. The swings join in the fun with their squeaky song as small sticky hands grasp the cold metal chains tightly. Up into the air they soar, towards a perfect blue sky. A choir of tiny, sweetly singing birds serenade from the protective branches of fir trees. The warm sun gazes down, bathing the scene in a gentle light. Now you may notice in that we have got the adjectives and the adverbs, but we've also added in other imagery. We've added in personification. Now personification is when you give human thoughts, feelings or actions to non-human things. So here we had the swings join in the fun with their squeaky song, and the warm sun gazes down. Now this is the next part of developing that writing. So if you have a little look in the description to our video on imagery, then that will give you more information on there and look at how we would build this further. adding that other layer of imagery on top of the web of ideas that you already have. Let me know if this is helpful to you. Drop me a little message in the comments. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to know about, or if there are any techniques that you found helpful with your child. Bye for now.